The human warrior, Kale, strode across the barren plains of Vorten 9, his armor scuffed from countless battles, yet still shining faintly under the twin suns of the system. The wind carried a faint hum, a vibration that hinted at distant machinery or perhaps creatures hidden beneath the reddish dunes. Kale paused, scanning the horizon, when a small rustling caught his attention. From behind a jagged rock, two creatures emerged, strange and fragile-looking, with translucent skin that shimmered like liquid glass and eyes too large for their heads. They made quiet, whimpering noises that tugged at Kale's instincts despite the warrior's training. He crouched, holding out his hand, and from his pack he produced a small ration bar, cutting it in half. One by one, the alien strays approached, sniffed cautiously, and accepted the food. Kale smiled beneath his helmet, a rare gesture in a world that demanded vigilance. The creatures nuzzled against him for warmth, their small bodies trembling from hunger and fear. Kale sat down, letting them crawl into his lap, and offered the remainder of his provisions. The moment felt almost sacred, a pause in the relentless march of war and conquest. Kale had fought countless campaigns for the United Earth Coalition, facing species that spanned galaxies, some friendly, most hostile. Yet, in this quiet moment, feeding two innocent beings, he felt a strange, grounding clarity. Humanity had survived because of such choices, because humans could show kindness even when the universe demanded cruelty. The wind shifted, carrying a distant rumble that Kale recognized immediately. His hand rested on the hilt of his plasma sword, eyes narrowing as the ground trembled beneath him. 19 minutes passed since Kale had offered the first bite. 19 minutes that felt suspended in time as he watched the small aliens eat with abandon. Then, a shadow grew across the horizon, stretching beyond the dunes, blotting out the twin suns. Kale rose, alert, heart hammering as the tremor evolved into a deafening roar. Thousands of ships descended from orbit, their silhouettes massive and imposing, each one bearing the insignia of the Emperor of Vorten, a ruler whose fleet could crush entire planets without effort. 7,000 ships, a number so vast it defied comprehension, approached in perfect formation. The alien strays hissed in fear, huddling against Kale. He assessed the situation, calculating options. His armor would hold for minutes, maybe longer, but against this fleet, survival seemed impossible. Yet Kale did not flinch. Humans had always adapted, had always fought even when the odds were impossible. A beam of light shot down from the largest vessel, a focused energy pulse that ripped through the ground where Kale had stood moments before. He leapt aside, rolling across the sand, feeling the heat singe his armor. The strays squealed and scurried. The cover-dot Kale realized the Emperor's command vessels had detected an anomaly feeding creatures of an unregistered species. A gesture that in Vortanian law was considered interference with imperial order. The Emperor demanded obedience, and any act of independent compassion, however small, was considered rebellion. The warrior's mind raced. He could not flee. These ships would track him instantly. He could not fight. The fleet's energy output exceeded any human ship or weapon in the sector. And yet, Kale's instincts told him there was another way, a human way, born of cunning and courage rather than brute force. The strays chirped, looking at him with innocent eyes, and Kale made a decision. He unstrapped his armor, piece by piece, letting the layers clatter to the sand. By the time the Emperor's scouts arrived above, he stood bare, exposing his humanity. Raw and unarmed, sensors aboard the command vessel registered the anomaly. But it was not aggression that met them. It was vulnerability. The Emperor's intelligence calculated probability, yet the signal was unquantifiable. A human without weapons, offering protection to creatures deemed illegal, represented no threat, and yet demanded attention. Kale knelt, placing his hands over the strays in a gesture of guardianship. He spoke aloud, though the words were meant more for himself than anyone who might be listening. "We are all survivors here." The fleet halted in unison, energy thrusters dimming slightly. Communications arrays buzzed, translating Kale's gesture and presence across millions of kilometers in real time. The Emperor, viewing through holovision, leaned forward in his throne chamber, intrigued. He had never seen such defiance that required no force, no threat, no weapons. Only compassion. The human had fed creatures deemed expendable, and in doing so had challenged the very logic of imperial power. The Emperor's advisors whispered, urging retaliation, yet he silenced them with a gesture. "Observe," he commanded, voice echoing through the chamber, "for this is what makes humanity extraordinary." Back on Vorten 9, Kale remained kneeling, aware of the fleet above. The strays climbed onto his shoulders, chirping softly. He felt the hum of the Emperor's ships, a presence so vast it was almost physical. And yet he did not fear. Humanity's history was written in moments like this, where courage outweighed numbers, and compassion outweighed tyranny. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The Emperor studied Kale, fascinated by the concept that an unarmed human could command attention without a single shot fired. Reports of the incident spread across the fleet, a viral message that challenged every officer, every general, every mind trained to measure value by destruction. Kale's actions were simple, almost childlike in their clarity. Feed those in need. Protect the vulnerable. Stand even when the odds are impossible. Yet in the eyes of the Emperor, these actions were revolutionary. A testament to a species that had survived not through domination, but through ingenuity, resilience, and empathy. Finally, the Emperor spoke, his voice calm, yet carrying the weight of entire worlds. "Let the human remain. He shall be a witness, a reminder that power is not always force, and that true courage may wear no armor at all." Sensors retracted, ships rose slightly, and the tremor subsided. Kale remained kneeling, the strays chirping and brushing against his bare skin. Relief washed over him, though he did not lower his guard completely. Humanity was never safe, but moments like this reminded him why survival mattered. As the Emperor's fleet receded, Kale stood, still without armor yet unshaken. He scanned the horizon, eyes on the strays, who now leapt joyfully across the sand. The human warrior smiled, a rare expression of hope in a universe that demanded so much from its survivors. Kale gathered the strays, preparing to return to his temporary camp. The wind had died down, leaving only the quiet hum of distant machinery and the soft chirps of his small companions. He reflected on what had occurred, realizing that the act of kindness had not only saved the lives of two fragile creatures, but had momentarily tamed the hand of an emperor who wielded fleets like toys. In the days that followed, Kale's story spread through human networks and even reached alien ears, whispered as legend. A human warrior who stood bare, unarmed, before the might of 7,000 ships, and survived through simple courage and empathy. The two strays remained at his side, growing stronger and bolder with each passing day. Kale trained them, not for war, but for survival in the harsh universe, teaching them to trust, to fight when necessary, and to recognize that humans could be allies even in the most unlikely forms. The Emperor, intrigued by the anomaly, dispatched observers to monitor Kale. They reported back, describing his actions in detail, noting that every human choice carried a mixture of unpredictability and calculated compassion. The Emperor began to see patterns in humanity that could not be explained by logic alone. Patterns that suggested resilience, cunning, and a strength of spirit beyond measurement. Kale did not seek fame or recognition. His victories were quiet, personal, and often invisible to those who valued numbers over deeds. Yet he had achieved something extraordinary. He had demonstrated the essence of humanity to a being who commanded empires. Years later, the strays, now fully grown and formidable in their own right, would accompany Kale on missions across the galaxy. The story of the bear human who tamed the Emperor's fleet became a symbol, a lesson in every corner where humans dared to explore. Fight and survive. It was not the plasma rifles, the armor, or the ships that defined the human warrior. It was the choice to act with compassion in the face of annihilation, the willingness to risk everything for life itself, and the refusal to let fear dictate action. Humanity's greatest weapon had always been humanity itself, and Kale had wielded it without a single shot fired. And so, under twin suns and among alien sands, the human warrior continued his journey, the two alien strays at his side, proof that even in a universe of overwhelming force, courage and empathy could shape destiny in ways no fleet, no emperor, no weapon could ever predict.